Hi guys, you're watching the Wrestling and Anime 11. I'm your host Shane, and today we get the privilege of talking about the UFC on Fox 16 predictions actually coming up on the day of. So doing day of predictions, get the full time to digest exactly what's going on tonight. I'll be kind of analyzing the Fight Pass card, prelim cards, as well as the main card. So let's jump right into it. Kicking off the night for Fight Pass is Zach Cummings versus Dominic Steele. I actually believe that Zach Cummings was somewhat competitive in the first round versus Gunnar Nelson. Not anything to run home about or anything, but decently competitive. And then he's fighting someone like Dominic Steele, 13-5 record. You know, not a bad fighter, but has some questionable losses on the elite level. It should be a pretty easy win for Zach Cummings. I don't know if he gets a finish, but he should be able to round out a decision pretty easily for the most part. Next on the card is Jessamyn Duke versus Elizabeth Phillips. To be honest, it's a fight I don't care about too much. I've been completely unimpressed with Duke, even less impressed with Phillips. This is definitely a loser leaves town match. The loser will definitely be released from the UFC. Both, I believe, don't even have a victory in the UFC if I'm correct. Honestly, it could be Duke. She's got that longer frame, and, I don't see a finish. I definitely don't see a finish. This might be one of the fights I'm kind of like, ooh, about. I don't know if I'm going to watch the whole thing kind of thing, Might be a bathroom break. Hashtag DDD. But I think Duke should be able to round out, she has enough of the length, the striking ability, as long as she can have Phillips not take her down, which I think she's capable of that. So I'm going to give the nod to Duke, but it could go either way. I'm not 100% sure on that fight. We got Ramsey Najim versus Andrew Holbrook. Najim, he's got that flash KO over Beneil Dariush, I believe. And, Dariush is in the top 15 now, just got a submission win over Jim Miller, so that should tell you a little bit of the capabilities. Andrew Holbrook, not exactly someone to push off, but Najim, even though he's been inconsistent, he has potential. He just hasn't put it all together yet, and I believe this is kind of where that starting point is for Ramsey Najim. He should be able to get a solid win here. I don't know if it's a finish again, but it should be a solid KO if nothing else. And then we get the main event, the Fight Pass. Darren Cruikshank versus James Krause. It's crazy because Cruikshank, when he knocked out Eric Koch, even though Eric Koch was coming from featherweight, I was like, okay, that's a really good knockout. Same thing for James Krause, even though Sam Stout wasn't exactly in his prime anymore. It's like he submitted him very dominantly, honestly. So now you get them kind of in this odd spot. They're main event in the Fight Pass. I guess that counts for something. But on the same token, it's Fight Pass, Darren Cruikshank was one of those guys he thought might be competitive at the light heavyweight top of the division, or lightweight, not light heavyweight. And James Krause, even though you might not seen him as elite, even with his loss to Bobby Green, you're like, there's still something there, and it just never came through. I'm giving the nod to Darren Cruikshank. It's because of the inconsistency of James Krause. I think he's been even less consistent. Even in Darren Cruikshank's loss to George Masvidal, he got that knockdown in the round one and then fell from there. And I believe if Darren Cruikshank is able to hit somebody like James Krause that hard, Jorge Masvidal is able to recover very well, very elite, very underrated, even at the welterweight division, very underrated. And Darren Cruikshank was able to knock him down. I think for James Krause, he's not going to be able to even though he's got a lot of experience, he's not going to be able to come back from something like that. I believe Darren Cruikshank can get a victory here. KO or TKO, probably round 2 or 3. Not going to be the first round, but I believe Darren Cruikshank has the capability to knock out James Krause. Now we get to the prelim card on Fox. We start off with the bantamweight division. Eddie Wineland versus Brian Caraway. I'm going with my boy Mr. Cupcake Caraway simply because he's got the wrestling ability. Wineland looked, it wasn't a long fight, but he got just flattened by Johnny Eduardo. Just flattened in a very bad way. Even in his fight against Henry Barao, he still kind of looked average at best, which is Henry Barao, who's fighting in the main event, so let's be fair. But Brian Caraway, he had that loss to Rafael Sunsao, who should be fighting tonight if he wasn't injured. He should be the next guy in line with his, I believe it's 8-fight win streak. Never had a loss at bantamweight. So Rafael Sunsao is the last guy that Brian Caraway lost to, who should be getting a title shot. While Eddie Wineland lost to a guy who's 36, who's relatively elite. I'm not trying to push Eduardo to the side and say he's not worth anything, because that'd be a lie. But at the same time, I believe Caraway has more longevity at the elite level now than Weiland has. Granted, Weiland's been there longer, but I believe Caraway comes away with a decision victory. I don't think he'll get a submission, but if he does, it'll be in the third round. We move up to welterweight. This should be kind of a barn burner. Kenny Robertson versus Ben Saunders. I believe this is when more of that veteran experience comes in. I see Ben Saunders maybe getting a come from behind KO, probably in the second round, even third, but more likely the second. I think Kenny Robertson's going to look really good in round one, and then Ben Saunders, where he's going to regroup a little bit. He's going to be able to get that KO win. He has enough LE experience. It's almost been like a what is going on. He's one of those comeback stories. Looked fine, not bad, but he looked decent in Bellator. He didn't look like world championship material. Be like, why isn't this guy in the UFC again? He looked solid in Bellator, but now he's back. Doesn't really have a loss, honestly. So it's going to be interesting to see how Ben Saunders continues his comeback against a guy like Kenny Robertson. Coming up, lightweight, speaking of the devil, Jim Miller, who lost to Beneil Dariush in his last fight, versus Danny Castillo. I like Danny Castillo, but it's so sad because he seems like one of those guys, like a lot of the Team Alpha Male guys, like Benavidez, who wants it, he seems like one of those good guys, loves to fight or wrestle, depending on who you ask, and he just hasn't been able to wrap up his elite ability. His striking is okay, as you seen about Charlie Brennan, who doesn't really have much of a chin, but he was able to knock out Brennan with a very awesome, I believe it was a right overhand, and he got a good KO. Jim Miller, I don't believe Miller has a lot of KO losses, so he probably's not going to get a knockout. In fact, Danny Castillo might try to wrestle Miller. If he does, Miller has enough takedown defense to make it work. If not, he might be able to submit him off the ground. I see this going to decision. I don't believe any has gotten finishes recently. I think Jim Miller, let me check real quick on my professional device here. His last win... Okay, so he did, okay. Yeah, he's actually gotten 2 submission wins, but that's over Yancy Medeiros and Fabricio Camões. I believe that Danny Castillo is actually above those 2 guys in submission defense, takedown defense, whatever you want to name it, just overall capabilities. I think Danny Castillo is above those guys, but Jim Miller, he's on a 2-fight lose streak. I believe Danny Castillo is too. I don't know if this is going to be a loser leaves town, especially if Jim Miller loses. It's kind of hard to say. But at the same time, lightweight is the stacked division. You're going to find a ton of talent there. Neither one of these guys are ever going to be world champion, just to be blunt. So you might see a release, especially if Castillo loses. He's probably going to get his walking papers. So now we get to the main event of the prelim card. Gian Villante versus Tom Lawler. Tom Lawler, his last fight was at middleweight, come back up to light heavyweight. Gian Villante, 2-fight win streak over, I believe, Anthony Peroge and Sean O'Connell. Let's see. He was, and even before that, he had his fight, against Corey Anderson. Sorry, not Anthony Peroge, Corey Anderson. Even though he had that Fabio Maldonado fight, he was doing excellent in that first round, and then he gassed out. I believe the cardio is going to be more even because even though Fabio Maldonado doesn't look like a cardio machine, that guy can go 3 rounds if he has to. I believe the cardio is going to be about even. Gian Villante is more fresh. He's got the momentum of the 2-fight win streak. Tom Lawler does not. Wasn't originally planned for this fight. Now he's just kind of back. So I see Villante probably not getting a finish unless Lawler just looks rusty as hell, as just a fork on the ground that's been there for years. I see Villante taking a 30-27 on all 3 judges' scorecards, honestly. Just going to go ahead and, I don't want to say dominate, but he's going to do enough to win most of the rounds. I see him getting a decision, with some of his mixes of his wrestling attempts as well as some of his striking not being too shabby, honestly. Not great, but enough to handle a guy like Tom Lawler. I see Villante taking the decision. So now we get to the main card where the fun fights begin. We get Joe Lozon versus Takanori Gomi. Wow. Yeah, I see the Clay Guida and Kenny Florian effect, except for I see Takanori Gomi rocking Joe Lozon early. Not knocking him out, but rocking him early. I don't see him finishing Joe Lozon, even though Lozon was finished by Ali Quinta. I think Ali Quinta's fresher, faster, probably got a little more knockout power than his older Gomi. I think Gomi has enough power to rock Lozon. I don't think he finishes him, though. I think Lozon gets rocked, and Lozon will come back either in the late first round or sometime in the middle of the second round. I think he's going to find a way to get Gomi to the mats. Gomi has been submitted numerous times. Again, like Clay Guida, Kenny Florian, Joe Lozon's jiu-jitsu is just as well as those guys, if not better. He's going to be able to get him to the ground eventually, and he will submit him. Of course, he might be able to do enough to knock him out, Gomi. I think he will get rocked because Lozon has been knocked out pretty recently. That's kind of the feeling I have in the back of my mind. But I think Lozon, if he can recover from that first shot, Gomi will start to slow down, and he'll be able to get him to the ground, get him to the mat, submit him. Next on lightweight, still the division, Edson Barboza versus Paul Felder. Oh my goodness. I mean, Paul Felder was winning that fight from the beginning, and then he just did that sick spinning back fist and knocked out Danny Castillo. He made it look relatively easy, and against a guy like Danny Castillo, that's pretty hard. Same thing with Edson Barboza, though. I actually was favoring Bobby Green in that Barboza fight, but Barboza did take the win, so that says a lot about Barboza's capabilities. This is a tough one. Felder's undefeated, looked really good. This might be too much too soon. I don't exactly, part of Barboza's game is the leg kicks, and I haven't seen a whole lot of leg kicks that Paul Felder's had to defend, so that's going to be super interesting. Probably Barboza, just due to the experience. It'll be a learning lesson for Felder. I don't know if he finishes him. In fact, he probably doesn't. If it's a relatively dominant decision, Felder's going to get rocked, and, still being young in his career, he probably won't get knocked out unless a Terry Edom happens, spinning kick, which can knock anybody on this planet out. Barboza should probably be able to take the decision. If Felder wins, though, watch out. Watch out. He's going to be in that top 15, and he's going to get a big fight, and if he wins that, watch out. He's going to be climbing up those rankings. Bantamweight division for the women, Miesha Tate versus Jessica Eye. It's almost like that Benavidez effect. Like, Miesha Tate, second best bantamweight, easily. Even though, if I had him in a rematch with Kat Zingano, I think Tate might be able to take the victory. I think Tate's got a little more minimum. She's a little more calm. She hasn't had, as emotional, she has those string of victories. It's almost going to be interesting to see how the UFC tries to promote a third fight with Ronda Rousey if she wins. But I think in general, a lot of people are going behind Jessica Eye. I don't know. It's a good fight. I'm excited to watch that. That's probably the one I'm having the hardest one reading more than anything. Because Jessica Eye's got, solid takedown defense and really good striking. Not enough to beat Ronda Rousey, but very, very good. While Miesha Tate's just kind of well-rounded, he's got some good submission games, got good wrestling, good guard. She got rocked by, I believe it was Sarah McMahon in that fight, and she came back pretty well and took on the decision. I believe that was her last fight. Let me check real quick here. Yeah, that was that Sarah McMahon fight, and she got rocked pretty bad. So, yeah, she's on that 3-fight win streak against Sarah McMahon, Rina Nakai, Liz Carmouche. It's kind of one of those. I believe Jessica Eye, her only loss in the UFC is that split decision loss to Alexis Davis, and it's all kind of that round table below Ronda Rousey. That's a tough fight, man. I'm going to go with the upset. I'm going to go with Miesha Tate. I think she does enough to get maybe a 29-28 and maybe even a split decision, get away with it, uses more of her wrestling. She's not going to want to strike with Jessica Eye. That'd be a very big mistake, and I think she's going to use some of her wrestling to get the edge and grind it out, and then we'll get the third fight that everybody wants to see, right? And we get to the main event. Speaking of rematches nobody wants to see, TJ Dillashaw versus Renan Barao. Both guys have only had one fight since then. TJ Dillashaw against Joe Soto, and Renan Barao against Mitch Gagnon. His Joe Soto fight, he looked really good. He was winning the fight, got hit a lot. Joe Soto looked better than he probably should have because of the way TJ Dillashaw fights. Joe Soto is very capable, did really well in Bellator for himself. He got that. He just came off loss, too, against a guy not named TJ Dillashaw, who I can't think of off the top of my head, but he lost bad. So it's almost like, on the same token, everyone's like, oh, Renan Barao didn't look good against Mitch Gagnon. But Mitch Gagnon is excellent submissions, not great striking, but very well-rounded. He did get a finish, though. Barao did in the third round. So it's kind of like you can compare those, but at the same time, I don't know what Renan Barao can bring to the table that he did different the first time. It's going to be more competitive. That's probably well justifiable, and you can bring enough to the table because him and Barao got rocked early in that first round. He got, he was getting hit, and it looked like he might even be able to finish him in the first round for Dillashaw. I think he's going to be a little more cautious. He's not going to go in there as much. Might even try to. I don't think he's not going to shoot a takedown Dillashaw, but he just might try to use his length because I think he has 3.5 reach advantage. So he has that reach advantage, and I think he could do that. But at the same time, I mean, Dillashaw's got a better cardio, because Hennenbrau does make a bigger weight cut. And I just, for all time's sake, I mean, Dillashaw, he's got the better cardio, better wrestler. I'd definitely be okay saying better striker. That's something I would have hesitated to say maybe a year or two ago before that Dillashaw first fight. But I think his striking's better. That footwork is going to be a tough test for Barao, who's a little more flat-footed. I'm just going to predict the same thing. Probably a fifth-round finish, if not a decision for Dillashaw. I just don't see what Hennenbrau can bring to the table. He has great, he got that good submission win over Michael McDonald. That was a competitive fight, but, Michael McDonald's younger. I think he actually has more fight experience than Dillashaw, but at the same time, it's like he's 22 when he had that fight, super young, worn out, bloodied, he's not going to be able to get Dillashaw to that point. KOs, I mean, he's got that KO win over Eddie Wineland, again, like Barao, flat-footed, even more so than Barao. TJ Dillashaw, good luck hitting him with the spinning kick. Good luck hitting that guy, that fucking jumping chimpanzee with a spinning kick. It's not going to happen, to be relatively blunt. It just won't. Unless he just times it right, it's not going to happen. It's still going to cause problems for Barao. It did the first fight. It's going to be the same. If not a fifth-round finish, it's going to be Dillashaw getting the decision with relative ease. Should be a great, great fight card. Interesting fights, nothing that's going to make you go, UFC 189, yay, but pretty good fight card, especially for Fox. Get the title fight. It's been a long time since we had a title fight on Fox, so that's going to be good. Hopefully you guys all watch the card tonight. I probably won't do results, but depending on what happens, or if anything crazy happens, like Barao becoming the champion, might make a video, just kind of depends. So you guys go ahead and watch the fights tonight. I know I will, and go ahead. Don't do anything stupid if you end up going to a bar or anything like that to watch the fights. So be safe and enjoy the fights. See you guys later.